welcome back to Life Learning with me, Christy. I am so excited to share with you guys my experiences for my fourth term at WGU. For those of you who don't really know my channel, I am in the Teachers College at WGU studying my bachelor's degree in elementary education. Before I get started, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It just really helps my channel. Just like a general overview with some exciting news attached. This term, I managed to fit 6 classes into 4 months, leaving the last 2 months for finishing the praxis core, the writing and reading sections. At one point, I had 2 classes to finish at once, but I did end up passing them. For me, I was really trying to leave enough time for me to finish the praxis core because of my schedule this term, and I had a lot on my plate as well, so I kind of felt a little overwhelmed. I wasn't able to study or finish the praxis core test because I just had a lot going on. So that's why later in the term, I just decided, okay, I'm going to finish as many classes as I can, and I'm going to have some time left over to do what I essentially did for the math praxis. I won an award for this term. I won the Disposition Award, which is basically celebrating my hard work ethic. I also found out that I have all A's and a GPA of 4.0. I'm really excited, and so excited because understanding that, I will be able to apply for the sorority Kappa Delta Pi. It's an education sorority. They have a chapter at WGU, and I'm super excited. I really hope I join. That would just be a wonderful thing for me. So I get to apply next term. So the classes I took this semester is D091, Introduction to Curriculum and Instruction, D093, which is Assessing Student Learning. I got C109, which is Elementary Math Methods, C104, which is the Social Studies Methods, D092, which is Technology for Education, and last but not least, C732, Disciplinary Literacy. I will go into detail with each class. I will be giving you what is required to pass for each class, any tips that you can use to succeed as well. So the first class that I took was D091, Introduction to Curriculum and Instruction. This course teaches you all about how to create lesson plans, lesson objectives, how to use different types of assessments, how to differentiate that instruction to special education, English learners, and gifted students, how to really select instructional materials, how to plan, use teacher strategies, how to align your lessons to state standards, and how to combine different subjects together. I highly recommend completing the notes for the material. You don't have to read every single thing. The videos that I watched were enough to help, but I recommend using any strategies that your instructor gives you, and especially going to the cohorts. This class you really need to know because from here on out, you will be writing lesson plans, analyzing whether or not it meets the student's needs, and writing lesson objectives. Especially for all the methods courses that you take, you will essentially be writing a lesson plan for every methods course that you do take. So this course is highly important, especially for your teaching career. There are smaller videos for each section of the lesson plan, so you can use this to your benefit. When creating your lesson plans, they do have a lesson plan template available to you. I highly recommend saving a copy of this in your drive or whatever it is that you use, because you will be asked to use this template throughout any kind of methods courses like I said that you will take. You don't have to save this. It will be provided for you in a class that you take. There'll be a link for it, but I just prefer saving it this way because then I don't have to kind of search for it. There's also kind of a guide for when you complete a lesson plan. They've got smaller videos. As I said, those smaller videos will help you to write each section of the lesson plan. And again, this guide will be at your disposal for any class that requires you to write a lesson plan. So again, you'll have that as your resource as well. So there's one performance assessment, there's no OA, there are 4 tasks to complete total. Task 1 asks you to observe 2 videos from a list, and you basically have to describe the differentiated instruction that was used, how students felt before, during, after, basically give your analysis of it, and explain some strategies from the videos that you might use in the future. Task 2, you will be creating a lesson plan yourself using that WGU template. Like I said, make sure you keep an extra copy on hand. Keep in mind for this task, whatever you decide to do in this lesson plan, you're going to be teaching it for task 4. So just keep that in mind. I did mine on combining reading and science and exploring the scientific method based on my state standards. Task 3 has you evaluating a lesson plan and see if it meets certain standards, if it's effective, and if it differentiates instruction to the attached student profiles that you'll be analyzing. Task 4 asks you to teach your lesson plan from task 2 to family members or friends. You can't teach your students if you are already in a classroom. It doesn't have to be lengthy either. You have to make a video out of it because you'll be writing a reflection later. So that video is important for you. It's not going to be submitted to the evaluator. So they give you an estimate of maybe 10 to 20 minutes. My video, I think, was 30 to 40 minutes just because I went all out and I was really excited to teach. You do not have to do it for that long. I ended up using my phone to record the video and I taught to my husband. D093 is assessing student learning. This class is basically using statistics for education. That's just basically what it is in a nutshell. You're going to be measuring and evaluating student data. This class is really important though, because as a teacher, you will be gathering data from assessments that your students will be taking, and it's important to know how it can be used to really inform and adjust your instruction. My biggest tip for this class would be to complete task 2 last because it is so dense and heavy. Definitely attend a cohort or 2 or watch a recorded video for task 2. There's a study hall available to you, and there is like a one-stop shop document that has a welcome video and guides for each task. There are 3 tasks for the performance assessment, no OA. Task 1, you will be writing a lesson objective, formative, and summative assessment and how those 2 meet that objective. You're kind of writing a lesson plan, but then you're kind of not because you're just writing those 3 things. You will also describe how both assessments will help you to plan your instruction. Task 2, this is where you will examine an already made lesson plan, student profiles, and lots of charts of assessment data from the pre-assessment, formative, and summative. For each assessment, you will explain areas of strength and improvement. You will be analyzing students who showed growth, didn't show growth, and the class as a whole. You will also recommend an area of adjustment to the lesson plan. I'm not able to give you spoilers on the lesson plan itself or the student profiles, but what I can tell you is that you don't have to worry about when you have to recommend an adjustment for the lesson plan because there's going to be more than one. Like, I honestly wish I was able to provide more than one because I saw many, but I was only able to do one. It's okay. I think for myself, I just, really wanted to really help that teacher out. Task 3, you'll be watching 3 videos and evaluating the teacher's teaching and instruction, how it supports learning, analyzing the overall effectiveness of it. Yeah. The next class I took was C109 Math Methods. This class is more to do with how you will teach math rather than learning it. I cannot stress this enough. I loved this class. You're going to be learning all about the math manipulatives and tools, how to engage students in math learning, using teaching strategies, and how to teach the math subjects. The four main math subjects that they want you to really know is numbers and counting, which has fractions as well, your basic operations as well. You've got geometry, you've got algebra, and you've got probability and statistics. You won't be given like any problems per se about those subjects. It'll really ask you about, oh, student did this. What do you recommend? That sort of thing. It's just really assessing students' learning and how you're able to manage certain situations dealing with students and the math subjects. This is why you need to know how to complete those math concepts. So this class comes after all of your math general courses and the math praxis core. There is one task for the performance assessment and an objective assessment. There are three parts to the task. Part one has you listing tools that are hands-on and virtual, four for each. In part two, you choose one tool that you listed from part one and create a lesson plan out of it using the WGU template, like I've mentioned, and your state standards. Lastly, for part three, you're going to be reflecting on your lesson plan that you made. For the OA, my biggest tips are to create a chart, some sort of a chart, visual diagram, whatever, for all the different differentiation strategies that you'll be using for all learners, special education, gifted, and English learners. In fact, I still have this chart up on my wall for any other classes that I took, because you really have to know these things, and it just is always helpful as like a reference. But I highly recommend that you make some sort of chart for yourself about it, because they're going to go into much detail about all the different differentiation instructional strategies. And they're going to give you lots of scenarios about it. So make sure you watch all the pre-recorded videos, you create flashcards, you create a study plan for yourself, take that pre-assessment. I think I watched the videos like multiple times over. So make sure you're really reading that material as well, because that is needed to pass. The next class I took was C104, Social Studies Methods. I heard that this class was going to be heavy, dense, but I really like history, so I didn't feel like it was that heavy to me, but you might be different, and that's okay. This class really teaches you, again, how to teach social studies. There are various categories that relate to this field, including U.S. history, world history, economics, and American civics, or political science as they call it. You're going to learn the many themes of social studies, how to integrate this subject into other fields, and how you can adapt the learning environment for student needs. This course, the one drawback of this course, unfortunately, it doesn't have many resources. And when I say resources, it does have some videos that are super helpful. Highly recommend you watch those. But I guess by this class, I was so used to having some sort of task guide or checklist, and I really didn't see one, which was disappointing for me, because a task guide really kind of breaks down the task into smaller sections, and you can kind of work piece by piece. And that's just super helpful for me, especially if it's really heavy based. So I didn't really see that. So what I ended up doing was making one myself, and I will post this down below. It will always be free. If you're interested in using it, feel free to download it. It is free at your disposal. Like I said, the course has pre-recorded videos, so feel free to watch that. For each section of the task, I highly recommend watching the video that kind of goes along with it. And if you use my task guide, I kind of show you. That way you don't get confused about which video you should watch, because in the instructional supports page, the task videos aren't really organized very well, and they're not very, they don't have like the greatest titles in them either to help you out. So I really went the extra mile to create this task guide for you if you need it, because I include videos and other resources and everything else that kind of goes along with each section. So please do yourselves a whole lot of do yourselves a favor and just use that, because this course was a little bit confusing on the task itself. There's one performance assessment. As I said, just one task. Um, I love history, so I went through this class fairly quickly. There's no OA. This is the first methods course that actually has no objective assessment because usually there's one attached and you have to write a lesson plan as well. Instead of writing a lesson plan, you're basically using their template they give you to create a main central theme for an overall curriculum map. Then you're going to choose 5 themes for a 5-week period, one theme for each week, and you're going to create an outline for how you plan to teach it using your state standards. You have to plan a field trip as well. It can be virtual or in person. You have to plan topics for each theme, activities the students will do for each week, and how you will differentiate instruction, and how you can use your lesson plan in another subject area. My lesson plan was all about my state. I used the themes of time, culture, people, places, institutions, and production distribution. I would like to mention that they do require you to use at least one theme of, they have you using 5 themes in general, but one of the themes they really want you to include is culture. You have to include that one in. It doesn't have to be in your first week. It could be in your 5th or 3rd week. They just really want you to include culture. This assessment for me was actually pretty fun. I didn't really have too many problems with it. Just really gives you an idea of how teachers kind of create curriculum maps for a specific subject area, and how they kind of, as I said, most teachers kind of combine multiple subjects together nowadays. So this was actually kind of fun for me. D092, Technology for Teaching. This class is exactly what the title means: how to integrate technology in the classroom, how to build digital citizenship, how to use it for assessment. It's very simple and pretty straightforward, this class. I do recommend using the material, but you don't have to spend like a whole lot of time on it. They do have like a support page for videos, cohorts, guides for the tasks, and they also have a study hall as well. Their instructors are super supportive. If you get a task back, because I did, my instructor was super helpful for me. She basically really walked me through what I needed to revise, and it was just awesome. I don't think I could have asked for a better instructor. There are 2 tasks for the performance assessment, no OA. Task 1, it has you creating a website. So you can either create the website and they have you creating that website on Google Sites. Didn't even know that existed, by the way. Or you can write an outline of you creating that website. Either way, you have to describe multiple uses of technology that you're going to use in your classroom, how certain tools can help teachers to research technology, how to use assistive technology, and how all that can be used for self-directedness. There's also a page where you have to create kind of like a lesson plan, but you're just basically giving the objective, formative, and summative assessment. For task 1, I actually went ahead and used Google Sites to create that website. I spent a lot of time on it. You don't have to spend too much time on it. Google Sites it was fairly easy to use, and I felt like doing something different. I just didn't feel like writing it all out. If you do decide to use Google Sites for that website that you will create, you can't provide a link to your website. You actually have to provide screenshots. So I use screenshots for my computer to do this, and I just put the pictures on this document, then saved it as a PDF and submitted it. If you're writing an outline of it, you won't provide any pictures or anything like that. I really liked task 1 a lot. I thought it was super fun. It really kind of gave me insight as to how teachers create like their own classroom websites, which is a lot of what people do in my state, and in my school district area. They typically write a lot of classroom websites, and I thought that was just so cool. I was just super excited. So I had a lot of fun with it. I was very creative with it. Task 2 has you watching 3 videos, and you're basically describing what level of technology is being used and how it affects teaching and learning for each. You're going to be using something called the SAMR model, SAMR. Look it up. First time using it, reading it, a little bit difficult, still a little bit confused about the different levels. But like I said, they have lots of resources to help you really understand it. It's a new concept for me. I've never heard of something like that. So if you've heard of it, you've got an advantage. The last class I took was C732 Disciplinary Literacy. Um, this class is all about how to integrate reading and writing into other disciplines like science, social studies, and math per se, um, using Common Core standards. You're not really using your state standards so much in this, mostly Common Core standards. Um, Before I get to my tips, I would like you to make a note of this. Disciplinary literacy is only used, and I think it's 4 to 8 states in the United States. So, depending on your state, you may not actually use this class for your benefit at all. I know my state doesn't. We use something called content area literacy, which is what the other states use. They use something called content area literacy, and the class will go into detail about the differences between the two. So keep that in the back of your mind. Even though this class is required for your WGU degree, if your state doesn't use disciplinary literacy, I highly recommend diving into the other type of literacy, because you will probably have to know that for your state. I think the only reason why disciplinary literacy is included in your degree program is because, just in case for the future, if your state changes and wants to adopt the Common Core standards sort of thing, most states typically use their own state standards that they have. Not every state in the United States is required to adopt Common Core. So every state has their own personal freedom as to whether or not they want to use that or not. For most of the time, for the states who aren't using disciplinary literacy and they haven't adopted the Common Core standards, typically they're using the content area literacy. So just keep that in the back of your mind. For this class, you're going to want to use the material in their study hall. They do have other resources that will really help you get you started. But the task resources, I would say, are the most helpful. Definitely reach out to your instructor if you have any issues. There are 2 tasks for your performance assessment, no OA. Both are lesson plans, full-on lesson plans. So be sure to grab that template because you will need it. One lesson plan, you have to integrate reading into one of those disciplines that I mentioned. The other is you have to integrate writing into one of those disciplines. Keep in mind here, you have to use different disciplines for both lesson plans. You can't use reading in science and then writing in science. It has to be reading in science and then writing something else, for example. I ended up using reading in science for my first one, and then for my other one, I used writing and social studies. I will say something that if you don't really know about this website, that is super helpful, because this website actually uses a lot of the Common Core standards. Teachers Pay Teachers. It's free to sign up an account. I found lots of helpful resources to help me just get ideas for writing a lesson plan. And I say Teachers Pay Teachers because they typically use Common Core standards. So I just highly recommend using that resource if you want. Well, guys, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for taking your time to be with me today. I really hope I gave you some insight and guidance for these classes that you might be taking soon. Anything that I've mentioned below, I will pop it down below. Feel free to post any comments or questions that you may have as well, and I'll be happy to answer them. I really hope everyone has a great summer. See y'all again soon. Bye, guys.